there was a time when Luke Davidson was the guy on TikTok. The man had a towel on his head, an exaggerated facial expression for every possible situation, and a content formula that middle schoolers couldn't get enough of. If TikTok had a hall of fame for its early comedic pioneers, Luke would have been front and center, probably making some over-the-top reaction face. But now, well, his comment section is a wasteland of bro fell off and is he still doing this? On top of that, his views have taken a nosedive so hard NASA is trying to track them. His reaction videos, once raking in millions, are struggling to scrape together 40,000 views. Even his smaller channels are gasping for air, barely managing a few thousand clicks per video. But at his peak, Luke Davidson was on his way to reaching almost 22 million followers on TikTok. But now he's down to 15 million, and on some days his following continues to decline. So what in the algorithmic apocalypse happened to Luke Davidson? Well, once you've watched this full video, it will all start to make sense and you'll have one of those, oh, that's why type of moments. Luke's journey to TikTok stardom started during lockdown, a time when everyone was either giving themselves questionable haircuts or mindlessly scrolling for hours. He mastered the art of short form comedy, if I can call it that, playing multiple characters in his skits, sometimes just by slapping a towel on his head. It was low budget, high energy, and wildly effective. Tens of millions of views later, he built a following larger than some small countries. Naturally, he took his talents to YouTube, where short form stars either make it big or flop like a fish out of water. At first, it seemed like he was on track to join the YouTube stars. His reaction content, simple, loud, and packed with over-the-top reactions, was pulling in 20 million views per video. And when you're pulling in those kind of numbers, YouTube isn't just paying your rent, it's probably financing your entire life. For a while, Luke was untouchable. No one questioned his success, but as time passed, people started getting tired. His skits repetitive, his humor stuck in 2020. The once loved towel on the head gimmick became less hilarious and more predictable. So the internet being, well, the internet, people started roasting Luke's content for being low effort, comparing it to school project level quality. But the thing is, Luke didn't lash out. He actually responded with surprising maturity, agreeing with some of the criticism. A rare W in the world of online clapbacks. But while Luke might have handled the hate well, his audience wasn't as forgiving. The floodgates opened and soon every comment section was filled with brutal reminders of his declining popularity. A lot of people had actually forgotten about this dude and left them back in 2020, while others labeled him as the hardest fall off in history. And to be brutally honest, some of those comments weren't wrong because the numbers backed it up. His once thriving reaction channel was now struggling, his views had plummeted, and it was starting to look like the internet had collectively decided it was time to move on. But that may be oversimplified, so let's get into some of the real reasons why Luke fell off. For starters, Luke's content hasn't changed since 2020. His videos today look exactly like his videos from 5 years ago. The same joke structures, the same exaggerated reactions, and the same formula. The problem, well, TikTok and YouTube move at the speed of light. What was funny back then is not hitting the same now. And then there's the harsh reality of TikTok fame. And the harsh reality of TikTok fame is that nobody stays loyal. Kinda like Love Island. TikTok's audience is like a swarm of locusts, consuming content at rapid speed and then moving on to the next trend. The kids who worship Luke in middle school, they've moved on to Skibbity Toilet or whatever unhinged trend is currently taking over. Not to mention that staying relevant on TikTok is like trying to stay dry in a hurricane. It's nearly impossible. Trends die in hours, algorithms shift overnight, what works today is irrelevant tomorrow. So Luke's failure to continuously keep up with these trends meant that inevitably the platform left him behind. So at first, Luke moving to reaction videos seemed like a great strategy. But the thing about reaction content, it's everywhere. If one creator does it better, audiences will just start to watch them instead. And with YouTube's recent crackdown on reaction videos that don't properly credit original creators, yep, that didn't help either. Which brings us to Luke's comedic style, which is essentially soccer level acting. You know how soccer players barely get touched and then they act like they've been hit by a truck? That's Luke's brand of humor.
Luke, here's $100 for the chores that you did this month.
Wait, I have a proposition for you. If you can guess my riddle correctly, I'll give you this back. But if not, you have to double it.
You should not have said that. Deal.
What starts with F, ends with F, but doesn't have an F in it?
Starts with an F, ends with an F, but doesn't have an F? That's impossible.
Keep thinking. I'll give you 5 more seconds.
No, it can't be that because that has an F. I don't know. What is it?
Photograph.
He takes the simplest dad joke and reacts like he just discovered the meaning of life. I'm sorry, but I just find his content really cringe. But no, maybe I'm being an asshole, so what do you guys think of his content? Because if those videos weren't bad enough, Luke often tries to do relatable skits as well. But the problem is, they just aren't relatable.
Can I get a large iced coffee, please?
Mom, can you get me a cookie?
We have cookies at home, sweetheart.
We have coffee at home, too.
M&M or chocolate chip?
Chocolate chip.
And a chocolate chip cookie, please.
I can kind of see what he's trying to do, but it's definitely not relatable. I mean, if I spoke to my mom like that, I wouldn't get some witty banter, I'd get disciplined. There's no cookie at home, there's only pain. Well, that sounds a bit intense. Guys, I promise I had a good childhood. I turned out alright.
A bullshit? A bullshit?
Anyways, moving on. Luke's initial fan base consisted mostly of kids and early teens. But the thing is, kids grow up. And when they do, the type of content they watch changes. And no, I'm not referring to that. So essentially, the audience that once adored Luke is now moving on to different creators, leaving him behind with no fresh audience to replace them. It seems that many long-term successful creators continuously adapt, whether it's changing their content style, hopping on new trends, or even transitioning to entirely different platforms, whereas Luke, he's stuck to his old formula. And while that worked for a while, refusing to evolve in the ever-changing world of online content is basically a fall-off sentence. But the thing is, Luke isn't completely down for the count. He still has 17 million followers on YouTube and 15 million on TikTok. Although a lot of them are no longer interested in his content, and that shows due to the number of followers he lost, this is still a huge following, giving Luke the potential chance to reinvent himself. So if he wants to make a comeback, he needs to change his strategy, move beyond reaction videos, and shake up his content style a bit, maybe a little less cringe. I mean, the internet is ruthless, but it does love a good comeback story. So what do you guys think he should do to make a comeback? Because I guess the question is, will he be able to pull it off? Only time will tell. But for now, we can only watch and see if Luke Davidson, once a TikTok giant, will make a comeback or fade into the algorithm's graveyard.